Rogers is among the leading communication companies in Canada and has been since 1925 when Rogers Sr. created the first AC to exist in the world. This invention by Mr. Rogers was one of the great factors that led to the popularization of the radio. It is because of this invention that Mr. Rogers was awarded an experimental television license in Canada in 1931. Mr. Rogers suddenly passed away at the age of 38, and it was his son Ted Rogers that was determined to carry on his father's business. Ted Rogers started Rogers Radio Broadcasting Limited, which acquired an FM station known as CHFI FM, which later became the most profitable as well as most popular FM radio station in Canada. The company Rogers was officially founded in 1960, but its roots trace back to the FM radio station which started it all. Rogers is based out of Toronto, Ontario, and its services are acquired nationally throughout Canada. Rogers is a public Canadian communications and media company and is continuing to grow rapidly in spite of their key technological focus.
Rogers can be split into four main assets: cable, wireless, media, and business solutions. Cable focuses on the telephone, internet, and TV. Wireless is focused on communications and the data of Rogers, as well as technologies like smartphone home monitoring systems. Media is the television, radio, publishing, as well as the broadcasting done by Rogers. And finally, business solutions are the ideas or legacies of the company, what to expect in the future. These are the ideas people invest their money into for down the road. Rogers relies on changes in technology as they look to do whatever is possible to stay ahead of their competition. Although the communications market is not very big, the few companies that control the market are fairly large. Each and every one of them are trying their hardest to stay ahead of one another. For Rogers, Bell and Telus are the largest companies that they try to stay ahead of, and they are constantly looking for ways to gain advantage over one another. It is the focus that Rogers has on technology that helps them gain this advantage.
Rogers' biggest competitor, as well as their most valued partner in a sense, is Bell. These two companies are extremely similar in their radio and television media assets, as well as wireless services, television distribution, and telephone services. Both companies own a stake of Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment, also known as MLSE. However, it is not only Bell that Rogers is in competition with. They also compete nationally with TELUS, mainly in the Department of Wireless Services. Shaw Communications is also another competitor of Rogers, but Rogers works primarily indirectly with them in the Department of Television Services.
Rogers' first big expansion on their company was the founding of the FM Radio Entertainment, started by Edward Rogers Sr. in 1959. He started off in Toronto, and by making the FM radio available to the nearby people, he was able to boost FM radio penetration by over 3%. CHFI FM, the original Rogers radio station, quickly became the most listened to radio station in Canada. The station started to grow out, and now Rogers owns 52 radio stations across Canada, including Alberta, British Columbia, Manitoba, Nova Scotia, and Ontario. 44 of these stations are FM, and Rogers even owns 8 AM stations as well. Rogers is now the third largest broadcaster in Canada, and the largest of that in Ontario. With the success of this new technology for Rogers, they began making even more money than before. Nowadays, Rogers makes millions of dollars off of their radio networks. In 2014, Rogers made around $234 million alone from FM and AM radio stations.
With the success following Rogers' FM station, cable networks were soon to follow. Rogers officially entered the cable business in 1967. Rogers Cable TV Limited had 12 stations by the time 1974 rolled around. They acquired Canadian Cable Systems Limited and Premier Communications Limited. And by 1980, Rogers was one of the leading companies in the cable field. Many people know of Rogers On Demand, which produces a lot of money for the company, and as well was a hit in the early 90s. Rogers continued to make partnerships with other companies such as Shaw. The two companies have created another movie and TV portal just like Rogers On Demand, called Show Me. These new technologies allow for customers to watch their own movies with little to no cost. They pay a monthly fee to watch as many movies as they want. This is yet another example of an innovation that has helped Rogers become the successful leading company they are known as today. The cable industry in 2014 made a revenue of over $3.5 billion. 50% through television, 36% through internet, and the last 14% by phoning.
Rogers has a huge part in media, especially in the industry of sports. Rogers is in ownership with Sportsnet, which was acquired through CTV. Rogers Media is also in partnership with the Toronto Blue Jays. The company also holds the naming rights to Rogers Arena, where the Vancouver Canucks of the NHL play. In addition to this, Rogers Place will be the foreseen home for the Edmonton Oilers in 2016. The National Hockey League has been one of Rogers' main consumers of their media assets. They recently signed a $5.2 billion deal with the NHL, giving them control of all national broadcasts, digital rights, and streaming feeds over the next 12 years. This deal replaced both Bell Media and CTV with Rogers.
LTE allowed for Rogers to provide their customers with more efficient wireless networks by combining different bands of wireless frequencies. Rogers Communications was the first wireless carrier to activate Long-Term Evolution Advanced, which is foreseen to be the next generation of technology. LTE Advanced is projected to double the download speeds users from the standard LTE. Rogers planned to have the LTE available in British Columbia as of 2016. Rogers LTE has already expanded to many parts of BC and Alberta before the projected date. This service allows for customers to have more efficient device and service, which creates for better business.
Rogers offers many advantages to their customers, and it isn't a coincidence that the majority of the products and services they offer are all in some way technologically advanced. For example, Rogers is constantly coming up with new plans that are supposed to be in the best interest for their customers. All different plans that support the technological use for people and their phones. Rogers is a leading provider for communications and entertainment products, leading wireless carrier, leading television provider, leading broadband network platform, financially strong, the list goes on. All these aspects of Rogers goes to show the focus they put towards having the best technological advances and innovations possible. The word leading is also so often used to describe the company, as it is one of the leading communication companies around the world. Rogers hasn't failed to show they are a leading company because of the efforts they put into their technology, as a way to satisfy their customers and consumers.
Consumers are seeing these improvements and innovations made by companies like Rogers, and are expecting more and more every time. It is Rogers' responsibility to keep up with their reputation, and so far they have done a good job. Rogers' identity is largely contributed by their strength in innovation. The pace of innovation in society today is ever changing. It is staggered. Rogers is expected to keep up with these changes in technological innovation. They're expected to keep innovating and to keep their world-class networks intact and stay as leaders in the communication markets and industries.